how are you doing? Sorry you had to wait because we had to do something, some things behind the scenes. But appreciate you for getting on the show. Really, you were the first, one of the first ones actually, like to jump on the chance. Like, all right, let's do this. So appreciate you for doing that. Um, just yeah, question that is asked to everyone, and including yourself. How did you synthesize that question? Where is indigenous knowledge right now? And any thoughts that you can share?
Ghazali, thank you for having me. I'm just to land. I'm here in Boonwurrung country on the lands of the Kulin Nations in South Melbourne, Australia. And the question, where is Indigenous knowledge now? I think, where is the world heading now? We need to follow different pathways. And so respecting Indigenous knowledge and listening to Indigenous peoples is really the only way we're going to find a pathway through to our future. So that's where I see it now as being critical to the future of life on this amazing planet.
And where is and this is where do you like to see it going? Like it's easy, virtually easy to talk about where it is right now, but it's much more important, obviously, to talk about where indigenous knowledge should be going, particularly in the Pacific context. Any thoughts on that?
When I think about it, I think really, Indigenous voices should be being listened to. And I was listening to Katie talk about, just respecting Indigenous peoples as practitioners with knowledge that's equal to Western science, and beyond. People should be paid as specialists for their expertise and their knowledge, and that knowledge should be recognised as equal or greater to than just a Western science approach to how we start to work on or fix some of the problems that exist. And a great example of that from Australia is cultural fire. And what we've seen across Northern Australia is 10 years ago, Aboriginal people weren't allowed to practice their burning. And there's massive, we saw across Southern Australia, these huge wildfires over summer. And what's happened across the north, where there's more Indigenous owned lands and where Aboriginal people have been able to get back out and re-practice their cultural fire, is a 50% reduction in wildfire. And at the beginning of that reintroduction, there was a big pushback from the states and the agencies saying, well, Indigenous people don't know, they're just getting out there and lighting up country and there's no regulations or practices. But over time, what we've seen is a real appreciation for that knowledge system and a real understanding of how in tune with the environment and nature cultural burning is, and how much it refreshes and rejuvenates. So that's just one example.
No, obviously, and thank you so much for bringing that up. Also, next speaker is also talking about that as well. What is the biggest misconception that you would like to address in that sense, of when it comes to the fire method, if I may call it that way, that you would like to address, because there's so many misconceptions out there. What's the biggest one, and how would you address it?
I think a really great example of that is one of the pieces that we're doing at the moment is adapting that knowledge system from across Northern Australia, the savanna burning method, which reduces carbon emissions and has created this flourishing industry across Northern Australia for Africa at the moment. And what we did was we took some of the rangers from Northern Australia into Botswana, and the Botswanans challenged us to a burn off. And they were like, this is our country and we know how to look after it. And we've been trained in prescribed burning fire practices. And they had their whole team out with their whistles and their fire trucks and taught how to put burn lines through the land. But when the Aboriginal rangers from Northern Australia came in, they knew how to work with the wind. And they knew how to put fire in so that it would come together and then burn very gently. And there was probably about 200 people from the fire agencies across the Botswana they're watching, who just said, that is incredible that you can come with that knowledge from a country totally different to here and apply that in this similar landscape. So I think that's just a really practical example of how people's perceptions of what's possible and what is possible can be quite different.
Thank you. And if you a quick pivot actually, because that's what the Pollination Foundation is also working on, is more into context of climate change, the climate crisis. Any ways that you see or would like to see in elevating Indigenous people's knowledge in that context of the climate change crisis?
Yeah, well, like I said at the beginning, I think it's critical to the climate change crisis, creating climate resilient futures, just the knowledge that Indigenous people have of seasons and seasonal indicators, and how that is then brought in to be able to monitor the changes in climate. So what are we seeing? We're not seeing that the oysters are milky at this time of year. We're seeing changes in our seasonal indicators, and what is that telling us? And how do we start to adapt to those changes? But also, what are some of the tools that we can be using from our knowledge, from Indigenous knowledge systems, to be creating more resilient places, and knowing, using different food systems being introduced into kind of the mainstream Indigenous foods, so that we're not having such a big impact on our earth when we're producing, food for local communities. There's a lot to unpack in that space, and I think Indigenous knowledge is critical.
No, yeah, thank you so much for that. Like you, because not a lot of people know about the Pollination Foundation. So like give you like the final 3-4 minutes to plug that a little bit, explain a little bit, because
Right.
I think it's very interesting, and you're the executive director, so you do know. By all means.
Cool. Thanks, Ghazali. So Pollination Foundation, we're new. We're a new foundation set up a year ago. We're a part of a global group called Pollination, that is focused on the transition to net zero emissions, climate resilient future. The group is global in footprint, so is advising governments and corporates around the world on their transition strategies. And the foundation has been set up with a focus on new climate solutions, investing in nature and people in nature, particularly Indigenous-led solutions. So our board includes global climate leaders as well as Indigenous people, and we're focusing here in Australia at the moment, which is where we're based in the foundation, on seeding and growing new ideas and new approaches and community-owned nature-based solutions. So rather than having brokers or conservation groups, having those solutions embedded and owned by local communities like the Savannah burning across Northern Australia. And then the other piece that we do is connect communities globally through knowledge sharing. So we're at the moment facilitating a knowledge sharing network that supports projects in Australia and Canada and Peru through the BHP Foundation to be coming together and sharing their knowledge and expertise so that we can all be learning from each other.
Appreciate it, because obviously when we first exchanged emails, text messages, and everything else, like I was very keen to learn about the Pollination Foundation, like the work that it does. So appreciate you for explaining that a little bit. Any final thoughts? Obviously something that you're like, oh my God, Ghazali, why didn't you ask me about that? Or you want people to think about, any concerns maybe in terms of Indigenous knowledge where it is right now?
I think just building on what Katie was saying previously, that investment into people is so important, and investment into governance and Indigenous governance and strong foundations is what creates that strong platform for then new knowledge and collaboration to be able to occur in equal in an equal partnership way. And I think that often gets overlooked, the importance of that investment. And we need to be doing more of that, empowering communities.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time, for being on the show. I know it's only 10 minutes, but I think it's been really valuable. And hopefully, I'll definitely know that we will continue the conversation about climate change, Indigenous knowledge, and everything else offline. Really looking forward to staying in touch, obviously, and appreciate you for your time, for your work, and everything else, obviously. Thank you so much.
And I think what you're doing is awesome. Great way to elevate diverse voices, and great to hear so many youth voices too. So thanks for having me at your birthday party. Awesome.
It's my pleasure. Like it's fun having being of value on your birthday party. Whereas I never do host or organize a birthday party. So this was kind of unnatural to me, so might as well lean into it and then be create some kind of platform for something or for people. So this is what it is. So appreciate you for acknowledging that. Thank you so much.
Super cool. Well done.
Thank you so much.
See you. Bye.
Have a great day.